Victor Mature harbored a deep disdain for him more than anyone else. Born as Victor John Mature on January 29, 1913 in Louisville, Kentucky, he grew up in a working-class environment. His father, Marello Galindo Mature, an Austrian-born cutler, and his mother, Clara P. Ackley, who had Swiss ancestry, raised him in a modest household. From a young age, Victor adopted a strong work ethic, taking on various jobs such as selling candy door-to-door and working as an elevator operator to help his family financially. Despite these modest beginnings, he dreamt of a more glamorous future. After a brief period attending the Kentucky Military Institute and trying his hand at several odd jobs in Chicago, he decided to head west to California to chase an acting career. There, he enrolled at the Pasadena Community Playhouse, a respected training ground for aspiring actors. It was at this institution that he refined his dramatic skills and caught the attention of Hollywood scouts. Victor Mature's career in film took off in the late 1930s, but it was during the 1940s and 1950s that he truly rose to stardom. His breakout role came with 1 Million BC, 1940, where his commanding physical presence and expressive features made him a standout. Even though the film had minimal dialogue, his performance showcased his ability to exude both strength and vulnerability simultaneously, captivating audiences without needing many words. During World War II, Mature put his flourishing career on hold to serve his country. He enlisted in the United States Coast Guard, undertaking hazardous duties aboard troop transport ships. His patriotism and willingness to prioritize national service over personal fame earned him tremendous respect, both in Hollywood circles and among the general public. After his military service concluded, Victor Mature returned to Hollywood and quickly reclaimed his status as a leading man. He demonstrated impressive versatility, excelling in genres ranging from film noir and biblical epics to westerns and romantic dramas. He earned critical acclaim for his portrayal of Doc Holliday in My Darling Clementine, 1946, directed by John Ford, where his sensitive performance added new depth to his acting credentials. He became a fixture in the grand epic films of the 1950s, particularly with his starring role in Samson and Delilah, 1949, directed by Cecil B. DeMille. His portrayal of the biblical hero Samson alongside Hedy Lamar's Delilah highlighted his commanding physicality and on-screen charisma, solidifying his place in Hollywood history. Other memorable performances include his role as Demetrius in The Robe, 1953, and its sequel, Demetrius and the Gladiators, 1954. Where he conveyed both dignity and pathos as a Roman slave turned Christian martyr. Despite his success, Victor Mature often displayed a refreshing sense of humility regarding his acting skills. Famously self-deprecating, he once remarked, "I'm no actor, and I've got 64 films to prove it." His modesty only increased his popularity with fans and endeared him to colleagues. Known for his professionalism, humor, and easygoing demeanor on set, Mature quickly became a favorite among directors and co-stars alike. Away from the camera, Victor Mature preferred a quiet, private life. He chose the company of close friends and family over the glitzy nightlife associated with Hollywood fame. His hobbies included golfing. He humorously claimed he retired from acting because it interfered with his golf game, and spending time outdoors, fitting for a man often cast in rugged, adventurous roles. By the 1960s, Mature began to step back from leading man roles, gradually retiring to enjoy a slower-paced life. Nevertheless, he made occasional appearances in films and television during the 1960s and 1970s, often poking fun at his own public persona with good-natured humor. His final film appearance was in the 1984 comedy Firepower, after which he officially retired. In his later years, Victor Mature lived a life of comfort and seclusion, far removed from the glittering spotlight that had once shone so brightly on him. Although widely recognized and celebrated for his contributions to film, he continued to downplay his abilities with characteristic modesty. Reiterating his earlier sentiment, he often joked, "I'm no actor, and I've got 64 films to prove it." A statement that captured the self-effacing charm that made him so beloved among colleagues and audiences alike. A stark contrast to the grandiose personalities so common in Hollywood. The personal life of Victor Mature was just as vibrant and eventful as his extensive career in Hollywood. Throughout his lifetime, Mature entered into marriage 5 times, with each relationship representing a unique chapter in his story. His first marriage was to Frances Charles, which began in 1938. However, this union was short-lived, ending in annulment in 1940. There is little detailed information available about Frances Charles, but the annulment implies that the relationship may have encountered serious incompatibilities or external pressures that made continuing the marriage untenable. At this time, Mature's acting career was just beginning to ascend, and the intense demands of building a name in Hollywood's competitive landscape may have played a role in their separation. Victor Mature's second marriage was to Martha Stevenson Kemp, the widow of renowned big band leader Hal Kemp. They wed in 1941, a period when Mature was establishing himself as a major Hollywood star with films like 1 Million BC. Their relationship, however, lasted only until 1943, ending in divorce. With Martha's strong ties to the music world and Mature's growing fame in Hollywood, they briefly formed a glamorous celebrity couple. Nevertheless, as with many high-profile marriages, the stresses of public life, diverging careers, and personal struggles likely led to the unraveling of their bond. In 1948, Victor Mature entered into his third marriage with Dorothy Stanford Berry. This union coincided with a highly successful period in his career, just as monumental projects like Samson and Delilah loomed on the horizon. Dorothy and Victor remained married for 7 years before divorcing in 1955. Although not much is publicly known about Dorothy Stanford Berry, it is likely that the pressures of Mature's fame and the demands of his busy travel and work schedule placed considerable strain on their marriage. Additionally, his larger-than-life persona, so prominent in his professional life, may have made sustaining a deeply personal, grounded relationship particularly challenging during these hectic years. Mature's fourth marriage was to Adrienne Joy Erwick, which began in 1959. This relationship endured for a decade before ending in divorce in 1969. During this phase of life, Victor Mature was undergoing a transition both personally and professionally, moving away from the intense hustle of Hollywood in favor of a more peaceful lifestyle. Adrienne Erwick was more private compared to some of Mature's earlier spouses, a dynamic that may have initially been appealing to him. Nevertheless, despite the quieter life, the marriage eventually dissolved, perhaps due to changing priorities and evolving personal ambitions during this stage of his life. Finally, Victor Mature found lasting happiness with Loretta Sabina, an accomplished opera singer. They married in 1974 and stayed together until Mature's death in 1999. This was his longest and most stable marriage, highlighted by the birth of their daughter, Victoria Mature, in 1975, when Victor was 62 years old. Loretta's career in opera and the arts provided common ground between them, fostering a mutual appreciation for each other's creative talents. Their daughter, Victoria, inspired by her mother, pursued a career as an opera singer, carrying forward the family's artistic legacy. In later interviews, Victoria Mature spoke warmly of her father's humor, affectionate nature, and zest for life, painting a picture of a devoted and loving family man during his later years. A stark contrast to the larger-than-life figures he often portrayed on screen. Beyond his marriages, Victor Mature also had high-profile romances that captured the public's fascination. At one point, he was engaged to the dazzling Hollywood starlet Rita Hayworth, one of the most iconic actresses of the era. Their relationship grew serious enough to lead to an engagement, but Hayworth ultimately ended it and married celebrated director Orson Welles instead. This breakup reportedly had a profound emotional impact on Mature. Though he maintained a gracious and gallant public image throughout, he was also engaged to actress Anne Shirley, another beloved figure of 1930s and 1940s cinema. Although their engagement did not lead to marriage either, it reflected Mature's prominent status within the elite social circles of Hollywood's golden age. Victor Mature, the rugged and charismatic leading man of timeless classics like Samson and Delilah and My Darling Clementine, was celebrated in Hollywood circles for his easygoing attitude, sharp self-deprecating humor, and an utter lack of pretension. In contrast to many of his contemporaries who carried themselves with a heavy air of self-importance, Mature often poked fun at his own abilities, famously remarking, "I'm not an actor, and I've got 64 pictures to prove it." Despite his reputation as genial and good-natured, there existed one man in the entertainment world for whom Victor Mature felt a deep and enduring hatred: Richard Burton. This intense animosity was not fueled by petty rivalry or professional envy, even though Burton's swift ascent as a classically trained Shakespearean actor sharply contrasted with Mature's more populist action hero persona. Rather, it stemmed from a complicated mixture of personal contempt, philosophical differences, and particular incidents that left a lasting scar on Mature's view of him. Mature perceived Burton as the embodiment of everything he detested about Hollywood's new wave of serious actors during the 1950s and 1960s. Self-important, theatrical, and disconnected from the everyday moviegoer whom Mature believed cinema should serve. The roots of Mature's resentment toward Burton can be traced back to their time working on The Robe, 1953, the first movie ever released in the new widescreen CinemaScope format. In the film, Burton played the tortured Roman tribune Marcellus Gallio, while Mature portrayed Demetrius, the converted slave. Though the film was a major box office success and critically praised, the off-screen relationship between the two actors was nothing short of frigid. At the pinnacle of his intellectual arrogance, Burton allegedly looked down upon Mature, viewing him as little more than a handsome model turned actor, someone whose limited dramatic range and lack of formal theatrical training were, in Burton's eyes, laughable. Burton reportedly did little to conceal his disdain, mocking Mature's acting ability behind his back and making sarcastic remarks that suggested his muscular build was his sole asset. For Victor Mature, who had fought his way into Hollywood without the pedigree of prestigious acting schools or Shakespearean stagecraft, such sneering condescension was not only an insult, but a complete affront to everything he valued. Mature believed acting was about touching the hearts of audiences, telling compelling stories, and making emotional connections, not about showcasing one's ability to recite pentameter or wallow in overwrought monologues. To him, Burton represented an elitist, pretentious trend in Hollywood that risked alienating the very people movies were meant to entertain. Their strained working relationship only deepened Mature's dislike. Burton, infamous for his heavy drinking, often showed up on set hungover or still intoxicated, slurring his lines and delaying production. Though Mature was not averse to enjoying a drink socially, he took his work seriously and prided himself on professionalism. He viewed Burton's reckless behavior as not just a personal failing, but a blatant sign of disrespect toward the cast, the crew, and the craft of filmmaking itself. To Mature, a man's reliability, work ethic, and character mattered infinitely more than critical accolades or awards. Adding further fuel to the fire was Burton's scandalous romance with actress Elizabeth Taylor. Their notorious affair, which began during the filming of Cleopatra, led to two highly publicized marriages and equally famous divorces, saturating the media with tales of their turbulent relationship. To Victor Mature, the entire spectacle symbolized everything he despised: vanity, narcissism, and the moral decay infiltrating Hollywood. While Mature lived modestly despite his fame, preferring golf outings over wild headline-making parties, He saw Burton's lifestyle as reckless, vulgar, and a disgrace to the dignity he believed actors should uphold. Even in later years, as Burton's career experienced highs and lows, and his personal demons became more publicly known, Mature's contempt showed no signs of softening. In interviews, when asked about his experiences with other actors, Mature would occasionally offer thinly veiled criticisms, remarking about those who believe the world should revolve around their genius, or those who never seemed able to leave the stage behind. Clear references to Burton without explicitly naming him. Privately, among trusted friends, Victor Mature was far less diplomatic. He reportedly referred to Richard Burton as an arrogant blowhard and the worst kind of phony, a drunk who mistook his own destructive habits for artistic temperament. Aristotle Victor Mature was not a man known for holding onto many grudges. He earned a reputation for stepping away from the glitz of Hollywood at the peak of his fame, choosing instead to retire gracefully and dedicate his time to golfing, sailing, and enjoying a personal life free of regrets. Yet, despite his generally easygoing nature, Richard Burton remained the one individual capable of stirring genuine anger within him, even decades after their paths had crossed. In a town where friendships were often fleeting and rivalries tended to fade over time, Mature's deep-seated animosity toward Burton was striking. Proof that even the most relaxed of men could find someone completely intolerable. Victor Mature passed away on August 4, 1999, following a long and courageous battle with leukemia. He died peacefully at his home in Rancho Santa Fe, California, a serene and affluent area near San Diego, where he had spent many of his later years enjoying a comfortable retirement. At the time of his passing, Mature was 86 years old. Although he had enjoyed a successful and lengthy career in Hollywood, he had largely retreated from public life in his final decades, preferring a quiet existence focused on leisure activities like golf and the companionship of close friends. His death marked the closing chapter of an era for countless fans who fondly remembered him as one of the iconic leading men of classic Hollywood. With his rugged good looks, distinctive voice, and powerful performances across a diverse range of roles, from grand biblical epics to intense noir thrillers, Mature had carved out a unique and enduring place in cinema history. After his passing, Victor Mature's body was returned to his birthplace, Louisville, Kentucky, a city he had always held close to his heart throughout his life. He was laid to rest in the Mature family plot at St. Michael's Cemetery, a historic Catholic burial ground within the city. His grave is notably adorned by a striking replica of the Angel of Grief, a famous 19th century sculpture created by artist William Wetmore Story as a memorial to his own wife. This moving monument, depicting a sorrowful angel collapsed in grief atop a tomb, serves as a poignant symbol of mourning and remembrance. Its presence at Mature's gravesite reflects not only the deep sorrow felt by his family and admirers, but also lends an artistic and timeless beauty to his final resting place. The sculpture's somber elegance stands as a fitting tribute to Mature's lasting legacy, the loyalty of his family, and the affection he inspired among both those who knew him personally and those who admired him from afar. In recognition of his significant contributions to the motion picture industry, Victor Mature was honored with a coveted star on the prestigious Hollywood Walk of Fame. His star, located at 6780 Hollywood Boulevard, occupies a prime location in the bustling heart of Hollywood, where millions of visitors walk by each year. Reserved for individuals who have made outstanding impacts in film, television, music, radio, and live performance, the Walk of Fame immortalizes those whose influence on entertainment is undeniable. Mature's inclusion among its honorees confirms his vital role in cinematic history. Throughout a career spanning over 3 decades, Victor Mature starred in a series of widely celebrated and successful films, including Samson and Delilah, 1949, My Darling Clementine, 1946, Kiss of Death, 1947, and The Robe, 1953. His roles demonstrated his versatility, showcasing his ability to inhabit heroes, anti-heroes, and multidimensional characters with equal skill. Today, the star on Hollywood Boulevard remains a lasting tribute to his achievements, offering a place where fans can honor his memory, reflect on his life's work, and celebrate the enduring charm, charisma, and talent that Victor Mature brought to the silver screen.